What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to make a bit more of a discussion video talking about 5 changes that I think DICE should make to Capital Supremacy in order to make it a much better and more enjoyable game mode. I'm sure many of you feel the same about Capital Supremacy as I do, in that it really is a fun game mode, yet it does sort of feel a little bit incomplete so far. As of recording this, we only have 3 maps, which are Geonosis, Kashyyyk and Camino, and then I think it'll be a day after this video goes up we are also getting Naboo, plus obviously Felucia later on in the year. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like all of the maps so far, and I'm sure Naboo is going to be really well suited to Capital Supremacy, plus Felucia will most likely be pretty cool as well. But I think with all that being said, the game mode does still feel very unfinished, and I'm sure a heap of you will agree that it can get very repetitive and boring after only one single round. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that I think could really make this mode the one that we've all been waiting for. Now, first off, this is going to be the most obvious change, and I'm sure pretty much everyone will agree with this, but we really need some original and sequel trilogy content for Capital Supremacy. As of right now, it is 100% a Clone Wars era game mode, and while I do love the Clone Wars, I think that's seriously hurting the game right now, as I think that's the main reason that it feels so repetitive. When you think about it, there are 20 heroes in this game at the moment, and in this mode we're only able to play as 8 of them, so straight away that's 12 unplayable heroes, plus all the different types of reinforcements, different vehicles, and even though the regular classes are the same anyway, we still can't play as stormtroopers or rebels either, so that is a fair chunk of content that's pretty much been removed when it comes to Capital Supremacy. On top of that, there are so many great maps that we can't play on. Original trilogy maps like Tatooine, Hoth, Yavin 4, Endor, and the Death Star are all unavailable, but if they were to add these maps, then it would not only give us more variety in maps, but also unlock all of those different characters that I just mentioned. The other thing that sucks about it being Clone Wars only is that all of the capital ship interiors are the same, and so pretty much every match you're just playing on a different ground phase, and then once you head up to the air, it's pretty much just the same 2 maps every single round. If they did go ahead and add some OT maps such as Tatooine or Hoth, for example, not only are those some new ground maps to play the conquest section of the mode on, but then they would also be able to add the Imperial class Star Destroyers and something like the MC-75 or the MC-80 Star Cruisers for the Rebel side, which would obviously be all new interiors that would definitely help freshen up the game mode. As for the sequel trilogy, they could add the Dreadnought that we see in The Last Jedi, and then for the light side they could add either the Radis or I think it might be called the Anodyne, which again would be 2 completely new interiors that would then equal a total of 6 different interiors, plus however many ground phases they'd like to add, so clearly this would be a vast amount of content compared to what we have at the moment. Now obviously this is super unlikely to happen, I'd almost guarantee that it won't, but I do think this change alone would be really beneficial for the game mode, and I dare say most of you guys will probably agree. Moving on now to the second thing on the list, and this is the ability to spawn on command posts rather than having to spawn all the way at the deployment. Honestly, I still can't believe that this wasn't implemented in the game mode when it was launched. This is like a fundamental aspect of Conquest from pretty much every game that has it, and so it really does confuse me as to why this was never in the game. I dare say most people will prefer to spawn on their teammates anyway whenever they do get the chance, but we all know how annoying it can be when all of your teammates are dead and you've got to spawn all the way at the back of the map and then run all the way back to the action, which, let's be honest, no one really wants to do. Now, the devs clearly know how to make changes like this since they added the squad spawn system back in September of last year, and even on a map like Geonosis in Galactic Assault, the default spawn point for the clones is at the back of the ATTEs, which is always moving, and so I'm pretty sure they definitely would be able to make this change fairly easily. Obviously, I am no game developer, so maybe it is harder than we think, but even if it was a massive task, I think it'd definitely be worth it for DICE because it would make this game mode a whole lot more enjoyable since you'd spend way more time in the action rather than running from the deployment back into the fight. Now, the next thing I wanted to touch on was the length of these games, as we all know how long some of these games can go for, and I think to keep people interested they really do need to change that aspect of the mode. I've been involved in a couple of 2.5 hour games before, and I know a lot of people have been involved in some like 3 or 4 hour games, and while at the time they were pretty fun since the mode was new and it did feel like a real tug of war, I think it quickly got boring, and now at this point I think they really do need to make a change. In my opinion, a solid game should go for maybe 45 minutes to an hour at the absolute max, and then obviously if you can dominate the other team, then those games are a whole lot shorter than that, but honestly anything over that starts to feel like it's short, and it gets extremely repetitive going back and forth between the ground and the air. The way they could do this is maybe after a certain amount of attempts at blowing up the capital ships, there could be a sudden death ground phase where it just comes down to the final conquest phase, and the winner of that wins the entire game. Obviously, something like that might break the immersion since it wouldn't really make sense with the story of the mode, since the goal is obviously to destroy the enemy ship, but maybe they could just add some separate end of round cinematics that would result in the ships being taken out from the ground somehow. Not really sure how the storyline would work, but I still think that change would be a good one, and it would not only shorten the games but also add a cool sudden death feeling to that last ground phase. Moving on, the next thing that I really think needs to change is the credit gain, which personally I couldn't care less about because I have enough credits to last me a lifetime in this game, but with more and more new players still coming to the game, they're going to be thrown off when it comes to CS, since obviously they want to grind for some credits yet only get rewarded with 600 or 700 after a 90-minute long game of Capital Supremacy. This change would be pretty simple. I think they just need to remove the credit cap and make it more based off the length of the game as well as how well the player does, because at the moment it just seems like once you get to about 700 it just won't go any higher, even if you had 500 kills in a game that lasted 5 hours. Changing this up would make a lot of newer players probably more excited to play the mode if they need, say, a quick 2000 credits to unlock a skin that they've had their eye on, and they know that they can play a nice hour-long game and have a chance at gaining 1500 or 2000 credits. Then I think a lot more people would be interested in the game mode, since they know they can go and grind for levels and credits rather than just sticking to GA or the other game modes. Now, moving on to the last thing on the list, and this is something that honestly doesn't bother me much at all, but I think it'd be cool to see the AI replaced with an extra 12 slots on each side, giving us proper 32v32 matches rather than 20v20 with bots. Like I said, I don't really mind how it is. The AI aren't an issue at all, and honestly you could argue a few points that they actually make the game mode better in ways like making it a bit more casual and making it a little easier for new players to get the hang of. But with all that being said, I would like to see at least what it's like to have a proper 32v32 combat in Battlefront 2. For any of you that have played Battlefield, Conquest in that game is amazing because of how large the battle feels, and even though technically this mode does still have 32 players on each side, you can pretty clearly tell which are the bots and which aren't. So adding more human players could definitely make it feel like a much larger battle, but like I said, at the end of the day, this one really doesn't bother me either way. So those are the 5 things I'd love to see changed in Capital Supremacy. I really do think this game mode has some serious potential, but as of right now, there really are some changes that need to be made. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, then make sure to leave a like down below to help support the channel. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, so if you have any ideas of your own, or if you do agree or disagree with any of my ideas, then definitely let me know down in the comments section. If you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 videos or live streams. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I will catch you all in the next one.